Hey everyone, before you listen to Randy whine about an episode of TV on a show he hates for a full hour, make sure you check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you like and give us 5 stars. It really helps us out. Don't forget to follow us on social media too at Read Watch Play Podcast or readwatchplaypod@gmail.com. If you have any negative comments, that's where those go. That or the trash can. I don't care. Let's get to the episode.
I don't know why you're pushing this narrative of me as the hater. We've already established through our foolproof review system that you're the hater by 0.2 points.
I have never given something a 0.
I've given a category a 0. I've never given something.
You gave Argyle 4 categories in Argyle a 0.
Yeah. Anyway, we're here to talk about The Last of Us. Season 2, Episode 2, Through the Valley. Nick already hit you with the socials. This isn't a regular episode. This is the TV episode. We don't know what our TV series is going to be called. If you have ideas, let us know. But we want to break this off into its own sort of, not channel, but I don't know. We need to brand it. And I don't know what we're going to brand it.
Should we have whoever comes up with the best name on as a guest? Then they can unveil it?
Yeah. If you have a good TV series name, let us know. I don't have anything. I'm about to turn to ChatGPT.
It's actually not a bad idea, though.
No. But yeah, I mean, Nick already hit with the socials. We're going to get into the episode right away. That's what you're here for. First part of this episode, we'll be covering just episode 2. We won't divulge any info that we know past that portion of the game. So you're safe if you're a TV watcher. At the end of the episode, like last time, we'll move into a spoiler section of the game discussion. Play some warning sirens like I did, a clicker noise, whatever, and that's your cue to get the heck out of here. Moving forward, we're going to be covering The Last of Us in 2 episode chunks. So we'll do episodes 3 and 4 together. We'll do 5 and 6. And then there's actually only 7 this season. So then we can do the finale on its own, which will be nice. It can be a nice bookend to the season. Episode 2, Through the Valley, directed by Mark
Snape
Mylod.
kills Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Notable HBO director. He actually directed some of my least favorite episodes of Game of Thrones, so I was pretty nervous when I saw he was doing this one. But I think we'll talk about how he delivered. A little synopsis. Abby and her crew are holed up in a lodge outside Jackson, feeling dejected at the seemingly impossible task of infiltrating the town to find Joel. Meanwhile, 2 ranging parties head out. Joel and Dina, Ellie and Jesse, as a snowstorm rolls in. As Abby stands watch, she spies the patrols of Joel and Dina and attempts to approach, but she slips down the mountain, waking a horde of infected. In Abby's attempt to escape, she is saved by Joel as they flee to the lodge to ride out the storm before returning to Jackson, which, due to the digging of the pipes, has attracted the zombie horde. And shit goes down. Nick, how you feeling about episode 2 of Through the Valley?
I was afraid that this might happen. I was hoping they would find a way to extend it to episode 3. You and I talked about this last time. We knew it was going to happen today. So I went into that episode. Actually, I had it spoiled because, I'm sorry, Screen Rant, you're going to put spoilers in your headlines now and it's just going to be randomly in my newsfeed?
Yeah.
F you. At least I knew it was coming already. It wasn't like a complete spoiler, but I knew it was coming. So I went into that episode and I just put up a wall, like an emotional wall. Yeah. And I refused to let myself just get lost in the episode knowing what was coming. And now I feel sad. And I need episode 3 because I need to know that Tommy's going to play the same type of role he did in the game.
Did your wall withstand the siege, or did they crumble like the walls of Jackson?
It withstood the siege.
It withstood
long enough to put myself in a private place and then cry alone.
Yeah. What an episode. I mean, this is probably the first time since Game of Thrones that I've had the feeling where you're just like vibrating during the episode. So much is happening. Everyone's in danger. You want it to stop, but you also don't want it to end. And this episode, I mean, it felt like one of those episodes of TV that's like a movie where it can stand on its own. Like, I almost feel like someone could watch this and not having seen anything else about The Last of Us and they can understand kind of like what's going on and feel like they get a devastatingly satisfying story told to them.
Mhm.
And I just really love that. I mean, I thought the balancing of the A plot and the B plot was like so well done, and the tension building. Um, and this is the episode. I mean, I think even more so than season one, like when they announced they were doing this was like the thing that every person who played the game knew was coming and was harboring this secret. If you listen to our spoiler section last episode, it's the first question we asked. It's the question we all thought going into the season is like, when is Joel dying? And it's happened. And now we can attempt to move on. But it's
It's the
done.
Ellie show.
It's done.
The Ellie and Abby show.
Yeah. I'm shocked in some ways because we talked about when it was going to happen. I'm shocked that HBO had the balls to do it like this early. I mean, similar to the game, like I just can't get over how early it happens, and I still can't get over it. And it's like it is the comp to the Ned Stark situation where it's like you're we're just getting going, and they're gone. Um, so did you? Oh, you said you had it spoiled, which is unfortunate. So you didn't get like the pure sense of the episode starting, and because there was a dawning on me when I realized that it was happening this episode, and you were robbed of
Mm,
that, weren't you?
I was, definitely. Um, you go into The Last of Us season 2, episode 2, and you want those feelings of dread, knowing that it could happen at any moment,
Yeah.
and then to your point, that feeling of the gates are open. This is it.
Hmm.
I mean, the second that they went out on patrol, I figured it was like I would have figured.
Yeah.
There's not too much they could do to fluff up an hour there. I don't think that would have been worthwhile to the story. So
Yeah. No, once they went out, I knew it was happening, and it was a situation where I was watching it with my fiance, and it was that same Game of Thrones situation where I'm sitting there and I'm watching her more than I'm watching the TV
mm,
because it's like the Red Wedding, the Ned. It's like I know what's coming, and no one else in this room does, which is just tough. Well,
yeah.
I think let's divide it up. I mean, I think the kind of the theme that I have of this episode is it's about opportunities missed and opportunities realized. Missed in terms of Ellie and Joel, they'll never again have that time to reconcile. Maybe they did. We can talk about that in those final moments laying on the floor. Maybe something was like, passed between them through just a look. But there was an opportunity realized by Abby here. It fell into her lap, and um, she took advantage of it. But I think we can split this into two discussions. We can talk about the Joel aspect of it, and we can talk about the battle aspect of it, our kind of A plot and B plot. I mean, we didn't really get into it, but how do you feel about just like the decision, the storytelling decision to kill off Joel? Like, does that work for you?
Are we talking about The Last of Us game as well
Yeah,
as the
just
show,
like
or just The Last of
as
Us
a
TV show?
story in the world, like how does it sit with you that like to kill him off right here, right now? Because it's the
I think
same
it's
similar
really,
point.
yeah, it's the exact same point,
Yeah.
really. Honestly, it might be soon. Joel might have died earlier in The Last of Us game than, like, in terms of like hours of gameplay versus
Hmm.
hours of show. I think it depends on the story you're trying to tell. And The Last of Us has chosen to tell a story where actions have consequences, people are violent in a post apocalyptic world where a lot of societal, especially where societal norms have brought out the worst of humanity, right? Like they went from, all the good societal norms we have are gone outside of Jackson Hole, Wyoming,
Yeah.
right? It's just kill or be killed. So they chose to tell a dark story about, your actions have consequences. And that's a theme throughout.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna get revenge, dig two graves, right? That's another
Yep. Wow. Nick
central
Hinkson
theme.
spitting right now.
Just saying. Like, I'm trying not to talk too much
Yeah,
about the spoilers for the
totally.
rest of the season, but
Yeah,
this is the this is the story they chose to tell, and I think The Last of Us is telling it well.
yeah. I do what I really appreciate about the decision is, and I even have so much more respect for the show in how they set it up in this episode, is it just bucks all conventional wisdom of storytelling. And typically, your protagonist has such plot armor in these situations that even me knowing what's happening, you can just see the storytelling beats where they would normally get out of this. There's the rescue of Abby, and you feel, okay, this is going to change her mind. This is going to bring her realize, Joel's not that bad of a guy, that he's a gray character, which he is. And, he'll get there. And, or you're also thinking in the back of your head, maybe Tommy will, head out and rescue them because he knows Joel's not responding. Or, Jesse and Ellie are still out there. Like they're going to show up. And Ellie does show up. And you think, okay, this is, he's going to be saved. And I love that you can't do it all the time because subversion can get old if you're just going for subversion's sake. But man, when you pitch it up perfectly like this, it's a shock. It feels right that, you know, he can just die and the story still has to go on. And I think it's a bold choice. And I do respect it, even though it hurts. Um, did you watch this episode with anyone who just as you're just solo in this one? That's tough.
Yeah, sorry, I'm shaking my head for everybody listening. Yeah, my fiance is not super into this type of stuff, so I watched season 1 on my own. I'm gonna be watching season 2 on my own. Randy's really the only one I have to
I'm the outlet.
commiserate with, so it's funny because like, as I'm watching this, like, you watched it, you texted me, I didn't get to watch it
Yeah.
till Monday, so I'm, like, texting you while I'm watching it on my lunch break. And then we're talking about it now. I'm like, this is just gonna consume my life
Yeah.
for the next 7 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you feel about, I mean, the one change we had in this from the game is Joel is with Dina. How do you feel about,
Mhm.
does it matter to you? Do you think it was a good choice? Why do you think they maybe made that choice? Any thoughts there?
Mm. I think by making that choice, what The Last of Us was really trying to hone in on is, to your point about the opportunity lost of not, I don't wanna say making up or forgiving people when you can, but just really honing in on, you might not get that chance,
Yeah.
So take advantage of it while people are still here, while Joel's still alive. I think they were really trying to hammer that point home for the emotional impact, and that's why I think, and also the way the show has pitched it up is Dina is also viewing Joel in this authority figure, not necessarily parental, but as a respected authority
Yeah. Looks up
figure.
to him.
Um, I think they really just twisted the knife in the viewer's gut
Yeah.
with that decision. I think it was the right one for how the show has been telling the story, though, to wrap that up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my deeper thoughts on this are probably more suited to the future spoiler, but I think it works for giving Dina some more ammo to her choices she makes later on in kind of this series. And I mean, in this one, Tommy couldn't have gone. Tommy had to be back to prepare
Right.
for the battle.
Which we don't see in the game, right?
No, there was I believe it was reported that they wanted to have a bigger scale battle defense of Jackson in the game, but they ran out of budget and time. So they cut that and felt like they could, just tell I mean, because that would really bloat the game out because in
Yeah.
the game you're locked into one POV and
No.
well, you're locked into whoever you're with at the moment. So you can't just kind of like span both stories where in the game you'd have to have an hour playing as, the Joel storyline and then you'd have to flip back to Jackson and that'd be so much to do in the game. So I think that got the axe from what I understand.
And that makes complete sense. as much as video games want to fit everything in, and some of them try,
You can't.
you can't. And The Last of Us, I think, to your point, would have felt bloated if you had
Yeah.
done that. I'm trying to what you were saying about point of view. I think it's worth noting that in the game, you play half the game as Ellie. You play like one chapter as Joel, right up
Yeah.
until you die. And you split playing the game as Abby and Ellie.
Yeah.
And so, not a spoiler, but like future looking, do you think the show is going to be split almost 50-50 from Abby and Ellie's point of view? Or do you think that we're going to hone in on the Ellie show here with a little bit of Abby?
I think it's going to be pretty split. I think they really will divide it. I mean, especially for how much they've already leaned into Abby's side of it. I mean, and this is not a spoiler at all to say, when this happens in the game, Joel dies not knowing why Abby kills him. He doesn't really understand. It's never said out loud that they were the Fireflies from there. Like, that's still kind of a
Right.
mystery in the game at this point. And
Yeah.
so I think they're speeding up a little bit of the Abby side to maybe balance out who we're tracking through this season. Because there's a lot of ground to cover story-wise, and they're already fleshing out, like, her crew here. So I imagine they're gonna be a pretty heavy rotation between, I'd say from here on out, every episode, we are flipping back and forth until, again, I mean, it's not a spoiler, the way this ends, Ellie and Abby are gonna be on a collision course. So I think we're gonna be following both until that collision happens.
Can we just jump into spoilers? Can we ring the bell? Like, can we just get into this?
I have a few other things before we do spoilers. Battle Jackson, I mean, because this is something that is not spoilers because like you said, it didn't happen in the game. I mean, this was an awesome battle. Like, I
I didn't
was
see
not
that coming.
expecting it at all. It was, you have to lean into just having fun with a battle sometimes and realize your key people most of the time are not going to die. You watch
Right.
Battle of the Bastards, you're not Jon Snow, you're nervous because you're like, he could die, and there's moments you think Jon Snow's gonna die, but you expect him to run through the horde of enemies and make it out. So that stuff's gonna happen. But man, I mean, I haven't seen something like this on TV in a long, long time. It was an incredible battle sequence, I thought.
Visually spectacular. HBO, golf clap for you. I mean, that
Yeah.
was truly great. I love that they were able to add that into the show as something based on season 1 and now so far what we've seen with season 2. For the most part, they're doing a very faithful adaptation. So to give the fans of the game The Last of Us game, a way to expand their world and their knowledge and canon of what happens in The Last of Us is important,
Yeah.
right? To do it where you can. Don't force it, but do it where you can. This was an excellent opportunity seized moment, to what you were saying earlier, by HBO. And the bloater, spectacular visually.
So good.
The way that they had decided to defend Jackson Hole, Wyoming, with you could see that serious thought had been put into how they were going to deal with raiders or the infected. And then you have all of the preparation that they had the town meeting. Go tell everyone,
Yeah.
if you're not a fighter, get to the basement. And then they had that scene where the guy got bit and he's like he's like holding out his arm and hands the guy a gun. It's like,
Mhm.
don't let me become, there's some really powerful things in that scene.
Yeah.
There was some really awesome cinematography and the sequence was very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. At first, when I saw the horde start towards Jackson and how big it was, I was thinking, I'm like, this looks a little big for like what I think Jackson can withstand. And I was like, this is stretching to something new because you never encounter a mass like this. Is World War Z type of zombie as opposed to anything you experience in the game, like never that level. But I was, like you said, I was really impressed with how they thought about the Jackson defense. It was like, this is not their first rodeo doing this. I thought like the barrels of, gasoline they dumped out was like really cool. everyone kind of knew what they were doing up top. There was like snipers covering
Mhm.
each other. As an action movie fan, I was like, this is just cake
Yeah.
right here, and it's making me feel good about what's bad is happening on the other side of this. Um, and I think it not answered, but it gave great context to one of the biggest complaints of the Joel death from game players, in that people often said Joel is way too trusting of Abby, and it felt very out of character for Joel to find himself in this situation to get killed by Abby. That was a little bit of the backlash. And I love that with this Jackson siege, Joel is like distracted through everything going on. He's looking out the window, he's watching back at Jackson. He's just like, when can we get back on the road there? He's thinking about that and not really thinking about the room of people he finds himself with in the lodge, which I thought was like just a really great choice of Joel's managing a lot in his brain right now. And that's kind of why he's a little bit off his guard in terms of what's going on with Abby and her crew. So I thought that was just a great add-on to this episode, which I really liked.
I'm gonna throw a counterpoint at you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit you with something I've been thinking about, chewing on, if you will. I actually think it did make sense that he would, like, trust Abby in a pretty quick, immediate
Yeah.
sense. They were also in the game. Don't forget, you're running from the horde in the game.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're doing, is getting away. So there's that distraction
Totally.
as well. But Abby is essentially the same age as Ellie and Dina, right? Like, plus or
Yeah.
minus a couple years, maybe.
Hmm.
And the whole point of the first The Last of Us game and the season 1 of the show is you watch Joel go from loving dad to just this hardened, emotionless shell of a human, to Ellie pulling him back to life, really. And then season 2 starts, and in episode 1 of the Last of Us, you see this real connection to Dina, and Dina's like, "Can you show me?" Even though she's just getting information about Ellie, she's like, "Can you show me?" He sits down. He wants to, like, they brought him back to a place where he can trust people, and someone like Abby would likely remind him
Hmm.
of those two, especially because he's with Dina. You're with Ellie, like, you're finally making up in the game. I mean, I just think from that perspective, it does work that he would trust again. And there's not the irony, but maybe it's irony that he finally learns to trust people like that again. And then someone who reminds him of somebody he cares about, like his daughter, them, is his ultimate demise.
Totally.
And I think it made a lot more. I think the gamers weren't giving enough credit to the story arc or the character arc in that story for Joel.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I had zero issues with it. I mean, he sees a, like you said, a person Ellie's age in trouble, and he snaps into action. Like, he does what he
Yeah.
does. And like you said, there's the irony of, it turns out that this person is exactly who was looking for him. And that's like
Yeah.
the Greek tragedy of it all. And I think that works so unbelievably well on a storytelling level. And I absolutely love it.
And then you can even take it back. I don't think I hammered this home, but take it back to his daughter, his young
Yeah.
daughter who he couldn't save. And now there's a young woman in trouble who he can save, a woman that reminds him of his daughter, of Ellie, of Dina. Like, I don't get the hatred towards the video game.
Me neither. Yeah, do not understand it. I mean, if you're upset that he died, totally get it.
Fair.
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 But
Ditto.
ditto.
Like,
Yeah, like, absolutely.
I've been upset about this for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Like, what do you,
Yeah.
or no, 5 years.
5 years
COVID.
now. Yeah.
5 years. Jesus. Wow. I really just thought COVID was like 2 years ago.
No. I'm in the same boat. I just thought from a balancing act in this episode, I love that it reinforces Joel's decisions, through the episode. And I love
Yes.
that, because I felt like if anything normal humdrum were going on in Jackson during this, I felt like the balance of sort of the tension would have been so off. So, like, them going through this really high octane storyline over here, just, I mean, it was pedal to the floor almost out of the gate in this episode. and
Yeah.
it just worked really well, and I thought it was unbelievable, like pitch perfect. Um, I want to run through some of our quick awards. We can just keep these rapid, and then let's just get into the spoilers. Favorite scene?
Mm, the bloater getting burnt in the dark, not the dark, the back alley scene.
Yeah, it was really good. I love the
That was
just the
just,
the flamethrower winding down. It's so relatable in a game.
listen, I was not convinced Tommy was making. Tommy felt like he had plot armor, but there was a part of me that was like, what if,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And what if it becomes then like a Tommy's wife, whose name I'm blanking on in the
Maria,
show.
right?
Yeah. What if she's going with Ellie? What if they completely change that? That thought did cross my mind, and then when the bloater fell over, audible sigh of relief out of this guy right here.
Yeah, I was
What
wondering
about
where they
you?
were going with that. And I think it was just cruelty on TV watchers because they did every trope in the bag. They had Maria and Tommy give the heartfelt final hug and kiss. They separated. You're thinking Tommy's gonna die because he's separated from Joel, and Joel's gonna come back and find out his brother died and he wasn't there. And man, it's a twist of the knife further. It's just brutal.
If you have no knowledge of the game, that is probably the exact conclusion that everybody came to, was it's going to be Tommy that Joel doesn't save.
Yeah. And then the outcome ends up so much worse. So
And
much
Joel
worse.
gets a golf club in the neck.
Yeah. Yeah. My fiance's mouth, I'm not even exaggeration, was probably hung open for 7 minutes after that happened. Like that was
I bet.
once it went in, that was the moment she realized like, oh, he's like actually dead. Like he's not coming back from this.
No.
My favorite scene, I mean, it's weird to say, but it is. I thought Bella Ramsey and Pedro's acting in that final moment together was just out of this
Fantastic.
world.
Yes. Agreed.
And this is, I mean, it's the stuff in a weird way you dream about of what this podcast is focused on in adaptations of seeing those critical moments come to life. And when someone delivers on it, I thought a lot about the other Pedro adaptation scene, spoiler alert for Game of Thrones, the Viper versus the Mountain. Like that was one of the scenes I was looking forward to the most in all of Game of Thrones because it was one of the most shocking moments I've ever had in reading a book in my life. And they delivered on that so hard. And Pedro does it again here. And it's just unbelievable. Love that. Any
Did you see that recently in an interview, like right before
yeah,
The Last of Us season 1 came out? Or like right before they announced it, he was doing an interview, and someone was like, "I am such a fan of like you and Game of Thrones and the Viper. Like that was probably one of the most shocking deaths we've ever seen on TV. Do you ever think you'll play a character that could top that?"
yeah.
And he goes, "Maybe." And you could just see like in his eyes got wide. He's
Yeah,
like, "Maybe."
maybe.
And then like they right after that they announced he was doing The Last of Us, and everybody knew.
Yeah.
But
He
that was funny.
he's had some gruesome HBO deaths. That's for sure.
HBO does not like him for some reason.
No.
They like love him, but they hate him.
Yeah, I'm worried about him in the Mandalorian movie.
He gone.
Yeah, seriously. Um,
It's been a weird year for him, or a couple years for him.
did you have any favorite nods to the game in this episode?
The lodge was exactly how I remembered it.
Yeah.
I think just overall, the setting of that scene was a really good nod to the players of the game. The other nod to the Last of Us game that I thought was really good was to what you said earlier, the bloater. And you're fighting the bloater, and you have what is the best weapon against the bloater in the game
Mhm.
of the flamethrower, and then all of a sudden you're out of your flamethrower. And that was a very real moment in The Last of Us video
Yeah.
games. So to get it again here with Tommy, such a crucial character, felt pretty big time.
Yeah. I hoard that flamethrower gas or whatever when I have it in the game. I'm like, I'm saving this to the exact right opportunity. That and my Molotovs, that's my go-to against the bloater. I was like,
Yeah.
just fire only. Stay as far away from me as you can. My favorite nod to the game was right after the death scene, we hear the music, the song Through the Valley, as sung and played by Ashley Johnson, the voice of Ellie.
Yeah.
And that's what got me watching this episode. And what got me was I mentioned it last week. This is a nod to the PSX trailer for the reveal of, the existence of this game. That's kind of the song that plays over the trailer. And it also coincides with that scene you were talking about where there's kind of the cleanup going on the wall. And there's, they're kind of panning and you see smacked my mic. You see just the feet. And then you see them hand that gun over to the guy who knows he's bit, and the guy shoots him. And that looks a lot like that reveal trailer when really it's Joel walking in the house and shooting someone who's kind of dying out. And oh man, I just loved that. It's such a great nod. So always great to hear, the OG Ellie, getting involved in the TV show. So I really love that.
Yeah.
Also, the Abby crawling under the fence away from the horde was beat for beat from the game as you're trying to escape, and you're controlling Abby
Yeah.
in that situation. It's great stuff. I don't think we need to hit favorite or least favorite change from the game. I mean, we talked about a lot of those with the Siege of Jackson, the change of Dina, Joel, and Tommy, and who's with who. Do you have a weak link of this episode? I don't really.
No.
None.
This was a really strong episode of TV.
Yeah. I agree. I had no complaints. I was like, you could make some, nitpicks about, the battle and Tommy running through, but that's just a battle episode. Those things are going to happen. I loved it. Loved every bit of it.
Nitpick this episode, you need to go touch grass and come back to reality. Like, that is about as good as TV gets right there.
Yeah. Opposite of a weak link, man, Jesse, little of expanded role in this episode. I'm just loving Jesse. Like, I love the guy who's playing him. His chemistry with Bella, I'm just really enjoying seeing them really together. Good. And I don't want to say more, but I'm just excited to see more Jesse this season. I think the whole young cast is great.
Yeah, I was just the whole kiss scene where like he pretends like he didn't know and he's teasing so her, good. And then you see her panic. Love that.
Yeah,
that's like such a brotherly, like older brother, younger sister, like type dynamic. I thought that was really
because you don't get that context in the game. You kind of wonder, like, this is a weird trio here. Like, is Jesse really like over this? And they do a good job of the show of this is played off more as like, this is just a fling. Like, he's moved on and he's just joking with them about it at this point. I wanted to throw out something, inspiration, like that I noticed in this. I was thinking when they were planting the seed of the horde coming from this kind of hive mind, I thought so much of The Lord of the Rings, the Mines of Moria. Like, they dug too deep trying to expand the town and they hit on waking something in the depths. And while it wasn't a Balrog in this, it was this horde. And I just love that kind of little bit of, I think, homage in some ways to what goes on in Fellowship of the Ring. So I thought that was cool. Who won the episode for you?
Not Joel. Maybe that guy that's with Abby.
Owen,
thank you. Yep. I'll get the names by episode 5. Don't worry. Owen, Jesse, some of that supporting cast. Also, it could be a win for Tommy. That was like a really strong Tommy episode, and it
was a strong Tommy.
You don't really get that in the Last of Us video games, so I'm gonna say Tommy.
Yeah, Gabriel Luna is fantastic as Tommy. I'm really enjoying his performance. He's so good. I'm gonna go. I mean, this is sick. I'm gonna go Abby. I'm gonna go Caitlin Devers as Abby. I thought, I mean, this whole episode, this whole season working, I feel like hinges on this, and I felt like she really delivered. In this performance and making you feel pure hatred for Abby, and you can see them laying the seeds of like having her not be a complete villain character. But everything she was doing in that scene and talking with Joel, and just every emotion she was feeling as she was on patrol alone, I just thought it worked so well. And I thought Caitlin Devers really sold me as the perfect choice for Abby in this show. I thought it was fantastic. Real quick, for TV watchers, what do you give this episode out of 10?
10.
9.5.
You hater. I knew it. I knew it. Play the horn, because I'm about to say a couple or three things, and they're all going to be spoilers.
Yep. All right, we're doing spoilers. If you have not played The Last of Us Part 2,
or don't want to know what happens.
All right, play the horns, play the clickers, spoiler time.
Okay. The whole brilliance of The Last of Us Part 2, in my mind, is the fact that you immediately hate this Abby character, right? And then they bring you back around to, you don't have to like Abby, but you at least understand how she got there and why she got there. And there's, I think, a level of empathy that you as the gamer has for Abby. And you really see both sides of this. And the whole final third of that game is just this one big heartbreak, because you just want them to stop. You want the vicious cycle of violence that eye for an eye mentality brings.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, everybody dies. Everybody dies but them.
Mm-hmm.
And she loses Dina and her family with that child. Like, it is just, it brings back like just to the worst of everything, and how this is I just awful. And Caitlin Devers this is what I want to say. Caitlin Devers has an uphill battle, because I feel like she doesn't have the time in this show that she had that Abby has in the game to do that. So she made you hate her. She did a really good job there. Is her performance going to be strong enough to bring it back around to get those same feelings? Seems like it.
Yeah.
Trending the right way. We'll see in 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Yeah. I think that is why they're revealing intentions of Abby and her crew earlier on in the show, to give you more time to kind of, because you just say time heals all wounds. And while it didn't totally heal the wound in the game, I did soften over time being in control of her, especially when she begins to interact with other characters like Lev. And I mean, you spend a serious amount of time with Abby in this game, and it wasn't until that point that I had warmed a little bit, and I stopped playing so recklessly with Abby, just wanting her to die. And the show has a lot to do in that area, and it's going to be hard, because they did the job of the pure hatred that you feel towards her.
They nailed that.
They nailed it. I mean, it's like, no matter how you feel about Joel's decision with Ellie at the end of season 1, I mean, it was just a cruel, disgusting act by Abby that I thought was played brilliantly, especially with her background crew in that scene of like, Abby, you were taking this way too far. Like, I thought all of that was just so well done. But I agree. I don't know. I don't know how they do it in the show. I don't know how they bring you back. It's going to be hard.
It's going to be the performance of a lifetime from her if they do it. Truly.
Yeah, it really will. I mean, she's fantastic at getting you to feel that. So we'll see. I believe in them. I have trust in them, but I'm really curious to see how they do the things that you can't do in a TV show versus the game. You can't put the controller in your hand and make you be this person and sit with them. Like, it's just not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
The next question I have for you is kind of a spoiler section. Next episode, kicking off the episode, I have 2 thoughts. Do you think we start with the reaction of Joel's death in Jackson, like them arriving back, or do you think we kick off with a Joel flashback? Because I'm thinking, to maybe like give you a little time to stew on it, I'm thinking that a real twist in the heart could be one of those real old Ellie Joel flashbacks of him taking her out on her birthday to the science museum, like that. Like they could really ruin us to kick this off.
It could be that. My other thought is it might be an Abby scene.
Could be an Abby flashback, or just an Abby
Like,
scene you're thinking.
I was specifically thinking the scene that you get with Abby and her dad right before he goes in to do that surgery. Those last moments they had together.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the reveal in the game, right? That
yeah,
I mean, because you're making assumptions that this little girl you're playing as is Abby. Like that's you're playing the game. You're like, I'm not an idiot. I'm assuming this is Abby. And then I think that's where they reveal that her dad was the doctor, right?
yes.
I can't really remember.
You have to start.
Yeah.
Did
I
you see
heard
that fly?
Yeah. That was like,
I
hey,
got
Arnold, when grandpa catches the fly in the karate lessons.
I'm getting good at that. You have to start bringing everybody back around to Abby immediately. Yeah. And that was my thought, but I really like the idea of the Joel Ellie flashback fading into Ellie just being a wreck at his funeral, and then you cut to Tommy and Dina and the other characters that are going to be involved from that side, and then go to Abby maybe.
Yeah.
But you could go from one flashback into a second like that would be cool too. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do I know?
I think you could be, I don't even know what is. I mean, seeing Ellie, a flashback with Ellie and Joel will be more emotional. Starting with Abby, I think you're right. I think that lays better groundwork and gives us more time to get there. And it's going to be like in the game, like you're just completely rejecting it still at that point. You're like, don't care, hater. Like, no matter how many times you want to show me the scene of the doctor defenseless getting shot, like I don't care yet. I will eventually. I'll come around, but I'm not there yet. Yeah, that's a good third option. But yeah, because I've just been thinking of like where do we go from here in the story? Because I mean, they got a lot to cover, but I think it will be a flashback. If you had to put your money on it, would you say flashback some way to start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, or you just cold open to a funeral.
And you go
funeral into flashback.
It's going to be brutal. I'm not ready for it. Staying on the topic of Tommy, a game to show change. Tommy has a child. Tommy has a family. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if the sickos over at HBO are thinking this is going to raise the stakes of these cycles of violence choices, that Tommy is going to desert his family to go after Abby, paralleling or mirroring what Ellie does at the end of the game and leaves Dina and JJ to continue to go after Abby. You know, Tommy's lost by the end of this game, and knowing that he's like happy right now with a family is going to just make it even more devastating that if he leaves them and just goes hunting after Abby, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be so hard to watch. Like, do you think that's why they gave him a child in the show?
Could be. Fuck you, HBO. Yeah, like that. Or I was also wondering if maybe they're not setting it up for Dina and Jesse to have a little bit of an expanded role and Tommy to have a little bit less of one, right? Because in the game, Tommy goes with you and you're with Tommy until he gets shot and he can't walk really anymore.
Yeah.
And that's where you've killed everybody but Abby. You've killed everybody else that was there. And then he comes back and says, I found her. I can't go, but you can. And he convinces Ellie to do it, and that's when Ellie loses Dina and the child. Like, not like they don't die, but like they leave her because she's only going to bring death and destruction with her. And then she gets her fingers bit off and she can't play guitar anymore. And
the PTSD scene in the barn. Oh my God. I'm just like, just
Yeah.
let me rest, Neil Druckmann, please. Stop it.
Nope.
Um, I have one more big spoiler question for you. What do you think is the next big oh shit moment in this game?
I think when they get to Seattle, if you remember, there's
Mhm.
a pretty big fight sequence followed by the first act of revenge. And
Are
I
you
think,
talking about what I think you're talking about?
what do you think I'm talking about?
When Ellie kills pregnant Mel.
Was that the first one? I thought that was not the first one.
I thought Mel was the first one of the crew she came across when she is
Oh, I
in
thought
the
it was the guy that
aquarium.
knocked her out.
Could be, could be.
Oh,
But like
no, I
what is
thought that.
sticking
Hang
out in
on.
my mind is I I should rewatch or replay this part of the game when we get there. I don't think Ellie knows she was pregnant, but having to realize in the game that you killed a pregnant woman was a lot. And that's going to be a heavy thing to portray on the screen. To me, that's like the
Yeah.
next big oh shit moment.
You kill Owen and Mel and
Yeah,
then
I
learn that
thought you
Mel's pregnant.
killed Mel first, and then Owen finds Mel, and then you kill Owen too. God, that's when you're like, you have the first inklings of like, please just stop, Ellie. Like, stop making me do this. That could be finale of season one, or sorry, of season two, of
And
her
that
getting
it
to
could
the
be.
aquarium.
Well, because then Tommy and Jesse convince Ellie that she needs to go home, that she's taking this too far, like that we have to end the cycle of violence.
Yeah,
But as they're doing that, Abby tracks you down again because she's mad. And in that fight, you Abby kills Jesse, shoots Tommy, and then that's when you get you kill the other person that Abby's with, and then basically you and Abby part ways, and that's when it all comes back around, and then you go out again. But there's one there's also that scene in Seattle where you kill the guy, like you're in the what the one who knocks her out. You like kill him somehow, and you get information from him
yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
Yeah,
I
I do
can't
remember. Yeah,
remember
all in the infiltrate. But I think to me, the thing that sticks out in my mind in that whole experience is you kill you kill Mel, and she's pregnant with a child, and I feel like
Yeah,
that's the culmination of what goes on here, and I could see that being the finale of the season, where you kind
yeah,
of end on a real sour note in terms of Ellie, and give that time to fester before season three, where you can try and pull people back to Abby. Will it work? Who knows? We'll see. Anything else you got kind of in the spoiler section? You got to get off?
no, I think I just need to see what episode 3 is going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested how they're gonna burn through all this. I mean,
I
there's a
do think you're right about the aquarium, though. The more you talk about it, the more I think it's going to end with the scene where Abby tracks you down while you're going home.
yeah. Yeah, I could see us on the Abby plot line skipping to I could see us having a scene or two of them on the way back to the WLF base of just kind of the fallout of what she did and the team being like, "Hey, Abby, you took that a bit far." And then I think they fast track to being back there. We get introduced to um whatever I forget what Jeffrey Wright's character's name is, the leader of the WLF. And I think there's mourning in Jackson. We get some flashbacks, and then I think Ellie's heading out on the road. And that's how the episode ends. Episode 3 ends.
Yeah. Oh, it's for sure ending with them going out to get them.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that Dina, I mean, sickly, I like that Dina was there for the Joel death because I didn't want to say this earlier, but I was like, it gives more understanding as to like why she would go on the road with Ellie for this. Like she was there and well, she was not awake or conscious while it was happening. She has some like active investment of like what went on here. And
Jesse's not going to let Ellie and Dina go by themselves.
No.
Tommy's definitely going. And it helps you round out the posse.
Yeah,
for sure. You're right.
Cool. Well, we can wrap this up. I'm looking forward to the next episode, even though I know it's going to be just a bummer. And I was lying. I'd give this episode a 10 out of 10. I just wanted to.
I knew you were lying. I knew you were lying.
I mean, they delivered on everything I wanted as a fan of this story. So
yeah,
loved it. It's a great episode of television. Thanks for listening, everybody. Like I said, we'll continue Last of Us coverage that we'll be doing in 2 chunks. So we won't have one next week. Next week, we'll have a regular episode of Read, Watch, Play, and then we'll be back the following week. We got other stuff coming up. Gone Girl, Mafia Meg, Goodfellas, and Casino. I'm pretty knee deep into the Goodfellas book right now. I'm enjoying it. And I'm having a good time.
Good,
Finished Gone Girl. Gone Girl, not to spoil my thoughts, just an awesome book. Had me addicted. So we got some fun stuff coming up. Nick already hit the socials, so I'm not going to say that again. But follow us, follow the show, give us 5 stars. And that's all I got, Nick. Thanks for joining me on this. After all we've been through, everything that I've done to you as a podcaster can't be for nothing.